Me, Tom Hendrick, and Simon Falk have all just watched the ESCZ 2024. We have thoughts, we have opinions. We want to talk about it.
Let's
do this.
With ESCZ, obviously this year it was live from the Roxy Club in Prague. It's the first time it's been in front of a live audience, per se, streamed straight onto the Eurovision YouTube channel. Before, of course, it has mostly been online, just kind of in a studio like last year, or it has been music videos uploaded and people have voted from there. So I want to get you guys' impressions on the show overall. How do you think that switch to the live show started? What is your initial reactions to watching ESCZ 2024? Tom?
Well, first things first, what you said straight away on Eurovision, the YouTube channel, it would be great if everyone did that. It'd make it so accessible to everyone. And I think more and more people now are watching the national finals. And I think people will watch them even more if they're on a platform like YouTube. So first things first, well done, fair play to ESCZ for taking that jump and putting the national final on YouTube. I think that was a great shout, and it makes us, not trying to hunt for it on their national channel. We can actually get it on really great quality on YouTube. So I am all for that, Simon.
Yeah, I actually had the exact same thoughts, because these smaller countries who haven't fared, the best in Eurovision these last few years, they would do themselves a very, very big favor by having it on YouTube as well, through Eurovision channel. I'm thinking, the Baltic countries could maybe do the same. Maybe Romania, if they decide to do a national final. If Bulgaria comes back, we don't know what would happen. And I like, the fact that it's scaled down into a club setting, but it is still, enthusiastic, and with a public there, with a live audience, that brings it up a notch. So yeah, I like the setting actually as well.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting, because something that we really have to bear in mind, I think we can all agree maybe the quality of the show was not as high as you would expect from other broadcasters.
Production value, yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy to criticize that instantly and kind of go in on, sorry about the pronunciation here, but Czechia TV, I don't know how you say it, but it's very easy to criticize them and be like, what was that? However, you have to kind of take into account, Czechia is working with a considerably smaller budget than Melfest, than even ELLY, in a country with a much smaller population than Czechia. They can't make these massive shows. So this, actually putting it into Roxy Club, is a huge step up for them. And it is a big deal in terms of how Czechia choose a song. Whether it was the right choice or not, we will discuss shortly. But it was, you can see the ambition is there after some good results. Vesna got top 10 last year. I think they came 10th, right? 9th to 10th kind of area. So they want to build from that. And so they've made the national final that bit bigger tonight. And they've had it live. They've had people come to the show, fans and press. I have seen a lot on Twitter today from people traveling. A lot of people from the UK have gone over. You've got people from Romania going over. You've got people from all over the continent heading to Prague to go watch the show because it's so diehard. And I think that element of it being more for the fans than maybe for the Czech people watching at home really showed maybe too much tonight, with the whole show being in English. It was explained by our host that, we're live on the Eurovision YouTube channel. They have 5 million subscribers. This is kind of more for that. How do you think that kind of fares in terms of, do you think it affects the quality that it's made more for Eurofans than for the Czech public, Simon?
It's funny, because I actually at one point thought the discussion we also had in Denmark, is our national final good enough to find the quality that we want for Eurovision? Or is the national final aimed at our local audience, to showcase, highlight new music from the country? And that's a dilemma that I think that Czechia has to find out, whether they want to be more specific to a Eurovision audience, which it clearly was tonight. I mean, it was in English. It was called Eurovision fans. It wasn't called Eurovision Song Contest Czechia as it is actually branded. So that's the dilemma I think that Czechia needs to find out, whether they want to, invite outside people into a Czech national final, or do a, let's say, a semi-final kind of heat for who is actually going to Eurovision. I think it worked pretty well. When you have a host, and I know he is Czech, but he was, pronouncing everything with such an American accent, then that I actually thought, is this, taking the local flavor away from it? Because diehard Eurofans who watch Eurovision national finals, they want to hear the local flavor. They want to hear the language. They want to, see the commercials that no one can understand anything of. Malta, who has a TV show of like 2 hours and 1.5 hours of them being local commercials. That's the fun part of it. Was this too clean? Was this too, okay, here's a show from a nightclub in Prague that is actually going to select our Eurovision song? I don't know. I'm a little bit split about this, I think.
I'm with you. I'm completely on the fence about this. It would have been nice to have literally been a fly on the wall to a Czech national final. Everything is in Czech. Everything feels Czech, and not just the music, but also the presenting as well. So we might not understand everything that they're saying, but we feel a part of it, and we feel like we're watching a specific country's national final. Now, on the flip side, back to the argument I made before, if you want to make it more accessible, if you want more and more people to watch it from around the world, not just within Czechia, then I guess that's why you put it in English, which is a more accessible language internationally. If you want people from America and Australia and wherever to watch it and enjoy it and support it, then I suppose putting it in English, there is an argument for that as well. For me personally, again, I'm on the fence, but I think if a gun to my head, I think I would have preferred to be fly on the wall watching a traditional Czech national final. What do you think, Lucy?
I agree, and I agree on that point, kind of, that I'd rather be on the fly on the wall watching it. I disagree that we have to make it accessible, making it in English for everyone to watch, because at the end of the day, I know you guys will be the same. How many national finals have you watched in languages you do not speak? Have you ever watched Lithuania? Yes, you have. How many times have you watched Melody Festival? And I appreciate, Simon, you probably can grasp Swedish, but for me and Tom, yeah, we will watch anything. We'll watch like
San Remo, which anything. Lasts all week, and it's all in Italian. It's like 5 hours long each show.
Kind of people going to watch ESCZ do not necessarily need it to be in English, because you are not going to get Dave from Grimsby. You're not going to get, I don't know, Soren from Aarhus, however you say it. Sorry, Simon. You're not going to get those random people who aren't one of us delightful weirdos who love Eurovision. They're not going to watch it. So make it for Czechia, make it in Czech, in my opinion. Let's kind of go through the songs in order of which they performed, which first up was arguably the fan favourite before the show, AIKO, with her song Pedestal. Now, with this song, it was the fan favourite before. It was definitely my favourite before. And we kind of listened to it. It is a upbeat rock, almost like punk pop song, and it is about self-love, self-encouragement, and putting yourself first for a change. It was energetic in the performance, and I think this was maybe our first chance of seeing that where the production value maybe didn't live up to what it needed to be. AIKO's performance was quite shouty, in a word. I was quite kind of like, oh, by that. I still, however, think that this was really fun. I thought it was really great. She had awesome choreo, and her outfit, she had like a bodysuit on, and she looked really great, and she looked like she was ready to put that effort in. And so I still think that we can't discredit it necessarily off the performance when we know there were maybe some issues. So despite kind of the shoutiness, despite the, I think maybe the emotions need controlling a little bit, despite that, I still think it was a really fun performance. Tom, what do you think?
One thing she did do, she threw the kitchen sink at that performance. Yeah. She threw her body, her soul, her life into those 3 minutes, and fair play to her. I respect her for that. I'm not sure if this was a sound issue or her performance issue, but I couldn't really understand half of what she was saying. I'm not sure if it was a bit too breathy. I was really trying to listen. I was really trying to listen to what she was singing, and that's never good because I couldn't really just completely enjoy myself and immerse myself in her performance. Yeah, love the bodysuit, love the energy and all that. The shouting bothered me a lot, and there is screaming, singing, screaming, shouting, and then at the end of that song, there was a genuine wail at the end of that performance, which and then I was like, okay, I'm out. I can't deal with this. So, loving the energy, loving what she wanted to bring to the performance, but unfortunately her execution wasn't there. Too much shouting, a little bit too much writhing around on the floor, a little bit for me. Yeah, it was a bit of an attack on the senses, a little bit. But yeah, that I want to be more positive. I want to say more positive things about it, but I can't right now. Simon.
For me, this is a case of one of these songs that if you perform it in a club atmosphere, or as we've seen in pre-parties as well, you see the recordings from a pre-party, or in this case, a recording from a club setting of a national final. It probably would have worked, you know, if you were there.
Yeah.
And been inside the atmosphere and felt it, and, you know, you could literally probably see her sweating on that stage. But when it boils down to a microphone and through your speakers, it's like, yeah, lady, you're up here. Can we just take it a notch down?
Yeah.
Because this song for me is the one that would have the best chance of doing well in Eurovision of the 7.
Interesting.
If I only take the song. But with that performance, you need to find out what is the purpose of the things you're doing. I mean, the shoutiness, yes, it bothered me as well, but is the shoutiness there for a reason? Is that because you want the expression to be very, you know, in your face? Carrier did the same, but in a whole nother, you know, level. He found the level of, I am going to be aggressive, but still maintaining the composure to actually, to balancing things. And that was my biggest problem in this one as well. And totally agree with what both of you have been saying about AIKO. The song, yes. The execution, no. If this ends up going to Eurovision, this needs a massive revamp and a massive thinking about what is the purpose of the different aspects of the song.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a tweet here from H_geeky, of course, on Twitter, saying with some cardio and vocal training, she could pull it together for May. So, I mean, the cardio is kind of way of saying we're maybe a bit kind of throughout the performance, but maybe I wonder if she couldn't hear in ears or something like that and thought, sod it, because she started quite normal. Like, it sounded really good at the beginning, and then it all just went bam when it kind of got into the performance a bit more once it reached that first chorus. So I wonder if she was just kind of like, right, okay, well, I can't hear myself, so I'm just going to go mad, like, woo. So yeah, that's where that training comes into it. I think she's a bit of an established performer is what I got kind of from what was said before the like when they were first announced. So can she pull it together for Malmö? If she gets picked, we'll have to find out. So next up, we had ELLY with The Angel's Share. Now, Personally, I kind of wasn't really vibing with this one. To be honest with you, I am more of an upbeat song person anyway, just naturally. So it's not necessarily tailored for me. But I did kind of find it a little bit, maybe it's just because the pure mania of what was on before. It was good. It just kind of passed me by a little bit. She looked great though. She had really good dancers. For that tiny stage, they did a really good job at staging it. But you know, the meaning was really lovely. She was talking about healing from trauma in her interview with Cesar Sampson. And yeah, it was really great. So even though it's not my cup of tea, I can appreciate it as a good song. Simon Falk, what do you think?
I can appreciate it as well, but it didn't do much for me. I was, you know, unimpressed vocally by this song, and that's my main take on it. It's a nice song, and one of those songs that sometimes can do well in Eurovision, but we've seen just over the years that songs need to do an impression on people, and if they don't, you know, inside, I took myself, you know, zoning out in the middle of the song because, okay, I've heard what it's about. Do I need to hear more? I'm not that sure. For me, this was the, I think, most underwhelming song of the evening, of the 7. Not because I don't think it has qualities, because I do think it has qualities, and it could do with, you know, if things were kept a little bit more together and, you know, emphasizing more on the things that she wants to point out in her delivery, it could work, but no, not for me, unfortunately.
Tom?
I mean, I have to disagree with both of you, and unfortunately, I liked it. I really liked it, and unlike what you said, Lucy, I think that the backing dancers were too much. It was, I think they were unnecessary. These greased up, half naked dudes for that song. It didn't work. I would have preferred something. I would have preferred something softer, a bit more contemporary. Yeah. But the song, I thought it was great. I think I'm with you, Simon, when you say I'm not sure it would get out of its semi-final at Eurovision. I don't think it has a particular identity to shine in this 7. It could do enough, but I don't know. I really liked the ethereal nature of it, matched with a bit of a more of a punchier a chorus. I kind of liked it. I didn't really like what was happening on stage, but if I closed my eyes and just listened to her, which is what people will be doing when we're not closing their eyes, but they won't be seeing the performance all the time when they're listening to it on the radio or in their cars or whatever. I think it sounds great. I think it's a very radio friendly track, and I think it was very different. It was a very different song on the night. And strip everything on stage, start again. For me, the vocals were nice. The song was great. I think it has room to elevate if it does. I don't think it will. If it does get to Malmo, I think it's got a lot of potential to elevate. But yeah, I'm in disagreement with you there, guys.
Fair. I mean, we have a comment on our live discussion thread on wiwibloggs.com from the creative named account Eurovision Fan, who has said, ELLY definitely has the best song in the selection, but the live performance and outfit were a little bit underwhelming. So they agree with you completely, Tom.
we speak the same language.
There you go. Right, next up we have got GIANNA with Starlet. Now, this one, I was a little bit apprehensive because I heard her voice on somewhere on YouTube when just investigating beforehand, and I wasn't super into her voice, particularly beforehand. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you her voice was perfect in the performance. It wasn't, but I thought it really suited this song. Now, this song, she was saying to Cesar Sampson, it's about, you know, it's almost like she gets imposter syndrome. She tells herself she shouldn't be doing this. She doesn't have the right to be doing this. But she wrote this song to remind her, like, you can do this. You deserve to do this. You're a star. Go. You know, so that's what the song is about for her. I actually quite like this performance, which I think most of Twitter completely disagrees with me there, because Twitter was not a big fan of this one particularly, but I really enjoyed it. I thought her outfit looked really cute. I know I'm not meant to go off, well, the outfit was good, so she can go to Eurovision, but it was a good outfit. So I thought she looked great. She looks like a pop star. She sounds like a pop star. She is a pop star. No, it was all right. It was quite good. But again, it's another one that isn't likely to win, maybe. I don't know how it would do at Eurovision. She'd need that extra training, I think. But she has so much time for that. It is December. She has a lot of time to perfect it if she does get chosen. And it could work really well. If I remember correctly, it had a really good drum beat on it. And then it had that pop kind of overlay on it. And I think it was really modern. It was one of the more modern and relevant songs in the selection, in my opinion. It's just maybe it needs to be packaged better. What do you think, Tom?
I just wanted to give her a hug. Gianna looked so lost on that stage, bless her. And it was a tiny, tiny stage. I'm not sure if she looked terrified or if she was I don't know what was going on, but I just wanted to give her a big old hug and say everything will be okay. Everything will be, you've got this. You've got this. I think she needed a bit more of a pep talk before the show.
I think she just read her own lyrics beforehand then.
Sorry, yeah, exactly. Unlike ELLY's, I think she needed something more on stage to help her either vocally or something, or some kind of choreo. I agree with you. She looked great. She looked great. She looked like a pop star. But I didn't feel it, and I can't remember the song now. I don't think this will qualify. If in the unlikely event this does qualify, it certainly won't qualify from the semi-final without a ridiculous revamp. Yeah, cute, fun, pop, just not for me. And I just want to make sure that I just want to give her a hug, Simon.
Well, to quote Armenia's brunette from 2023, she wanted to look good, do good, and feel good. Or be good, do good, look good, actually. I'm not sure whether she did all three, because she looked good. We can definitely agree on that. Do good, And I actually think you pinpointed very well, Tom. She looked lost, which affected her vocals, and maybe the in-ear affected her vocals as well. But if you have a stripped down song like she had there, you need to be on point. You are totally without any safety net of any kind of backing vocalists or instruments that you're playing or whatever it is. If you're there with your microphone, you need to be spot on perfect. She wasn't, and I don't think I can add much more than has already been said. This is not a song that can do well because of the song itself not being good enough and her unfortunately failing to impress on the night.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, no, I think like you say, if she does win this, she does need a lot of work, but just to reiterate, she has a lot of time to do that if needed. So let's see what happens. Next up, we have got LENNY with Good Enough. Now, I hadn't heard of LENNY before this week. When she was announced, it became pretty clear, pretty fast. She was the big name in the competition. As we learned kind of from her interview with Cesar Sampson, she has had a lot of success with a song called Hello. The crowd definitely knew who she was because that was the biggest reaction of the night, I would say. And yeah, so I didn't know what genre to expect. When the song started, I was like, okay, it's a ballad. And we had a very stereotypical ballad at the beginning, and then it went into something bigger. It got some guitars and got a bit of something added to it kind of later on, and it needed it because I was falling asleep. I'm gonna be honest, I was very bored by the time we hit the point. I was like, oh, thank goodness, okay, cool. Now, this was the best vocal of the night. There's no denying it. You can tell she is a professional. You can tell she's got a lot of experience. If there were any problems for everybody, you wouldn't have necessarily known it with her. That's because of experience. So, it was very obvious with that. But there was a comment on Wiwibloggs.com on our post throughout the show that I think summed it up really well. The commenter was Hey, and they said the song might not be the best, but overall performance was the most enjoyable. I wish they gave us music videos again instead of live performances, but based on them, it's LENNY for me. So are people going to vote based on the fact that LENNY's was the best performance, technically speaking? Or are they going to say, well, you know what, clearly there was problems, I'm going to vote for my favourite song anyway. So with LENNY, what did you think, Simon? What do you think is going to happen there?
Exactly your thoughts. She clearly knew what she was doing. I was in the beginning, I was like, okay, this like kind of raspy voice, is that doing any good for the song? But I found out later that was actually doing very good things for the song when it came up to, more climatic kind of the song. As you say, the song itself might have been a bit underwhelming. Not to, draw parallels between, different kinds of songs, but when Denmark participated with Ready in 2022, it took a long time before it got into the part that was actually, upbeat and more rocky and stuff like that. And that could be the challenge for this song as well. It has a very long run in until you actually get, your attention focused towards the song. But clearly the raspy vocals, we've seen it with Cornelia Jacobs. It has these like old Italian female artists as well, Gianna Nannini, Laura Pausini, stuff like that. I love it. The song needs to be, come into motion quicker than it does. But vocally, I agree. This was the most, secure, the most professional vocals that we heard all evening. So yeah. Tom?
She was sheer class. She was sheer class. It looked like she was giving ESCZ her new song during the interval. Clearly, I was not worried at all. All the other songs, like, there's always something wrong. Why is there always something wrong? There was not, for me, anything technically wrong about this performance. Yeah, she's a seasoned performer. There were no nerves. Now, the song is good, as you're saying, but not great. So if it does qualify, and this has a big chance of qualifying for Malmo, it will need a revamp. Because at Eurovision, there will be, everyone's going to have a brilliant song. Most countries will have a great song. So this will need to kind of match up with that. Now, for me, this certainly does the top two of this national final, but will it break out of its semi-final with this current performance? I'm not convinced. But yeah, it was lovely to watch. It was lovely to watch. I enjoyed I agree. It needed to get there sooner. I was like, get to the meat sooner, get there faster. And when it did, I enjoyed it and it was delicious. But it needs a revamp. She's quality. If this goes through, I'll be delighted. But yeah, it needs more. But when it goes to Malmo, as you say, Lucy, it's got bags of time, more than any other country. So
I mean, he is the cuz on Twitter has said, I do hope LENNY tries for ESCZ again in the future, because Good Enough, the song, Good Enough was apt. As in, it was all right. It was good enough. It wasn't wow. And I think that is quite an ironic song title in the sense it was good. It was good enough, but it wasn't top tier. It wasn't maybe Eurovision ready. So let's see what happens though, because you've got to bear in mind the Czech public are going to go nuts for this. So on their vote, LENNY is likely to come out on top. We don't know yet, but we'll have to see. Next up, we have MYDY, who I thought were called MYDY until the show, when they were like, it doesn't actually mean anything. I was like, oh, they're not called MYDY, they're just MYDY.
That would have been
Huh?
That would have been good. MYDY, that's clever.
It would have been good. With their song Red Flag Parade. Now, I don't know if you two have been on Twitter during the show. Twitter has taken to this song in a what a disaster bop. I'm completely here for it. There is many comparisons to Vesna, like going from Vesna to this is wild, but I love it. Basically, Twitter is absolutely loving this. The comments on Wiwibloggs are loving this. We have quite a lot of people excited for this one. Just trying to get this comment now. Carl in our comments says MYDY looked the most comfortable on stage indeed, and the song is fun. You know, this is generally what people are saying. MYDY were the best. The vocals were fine. You know, it's so Red Flag Parade is a very upbeat. It's very camp. It is delightfully camp. They are all there dressed as a marching band in little red coats, and 4 out of 5 of them have got little drummer boy drums. And you have a vocalist. With the lyric in the chorus, I'm not saying she's a witch, but she is I don't know how that's going to translate in Europe to people who don't necessarily speak English, because that's going to have to be blurred out, because that lyric is not allowed at Eurovision. It might be the campest rhyme we've ever had in a Eurovision national selection. I'm kind of here for it. It is like a hot mess, but like I equally love it. It's so ridiculous that it's good. I realistically, I think this might win just as an early take. I don't know whether it's my favorite or not is a different matter. I think, judging by what I know the Eurovision fandom to be like, myself included, I know that this is going to do very, very well with Eurovision fans, not only just because she was one of the few performers that actually managed to get it together for the live performance. It is worth noting that, much like LENNY, they are very experienced. Their whole interview with Cesar Sampson was very based around the fact they do a lot of live shows, and they would have done some of these shows at much divier places than the Roxy Club. So, you know, they'll be used to tech issues. They were confident, they were fine. They didn't have to worry about these sound issues. That all 5 of them just looked great on stage. It was so camp, so fun. It is absolutely feral going from Vesna to this, but if they do, but we will have to see. I'm kind of here for it. Tom Hendrick, what are you saying?
Oh, this was a hot mess, but it was wild. The thing is, everyone can vote for it, not just Czech people. Everyone can vote. So this will win. This is it. Like, your Euro fans, your traditional and say Euro fans will vote for this because everyone loves a hot mess. It was crazy. It was wild. It was energetic. It was dated AF, but people love it. People just loved it. It was like catnip for Euro nerds, and like that's kind of what it was for me. Was it vocally great? No. Was it a great song? Like, as in a song technically? No. But it was just like, when that comes on at Eurovision, which it probably will if everyone can vote for it, it's going through to the final because everyone loves a ridiculous hot mess. It was
over.
And
I don't think that's a compliment.
And this is it. And with a bit of finesse, which it will have going to Malmo, that will kind of just chop that rough diamond to make it into this polished beautifulness, which will be a hot mess. Let's face it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of torn of this one because I love good music, and this isn't good music, but this is that hot mess show that kind of tickles that little devil on the shoulder that go, yeah, you like that. But yeah,
how long have you been a Eurovision fan, Tom?
Way too long. But yeah, I mean, you could see this song in 10 years ago, 20 years ago. One may call it timeless, one may call it dated. Whichever side you're on, you're going to have a good time watching it.
I'm imagining it at Euro Club, that's all I'll say.
People will love it. People will love it at Euro Club.
Simon Fowl, what are we saying?
I mean, Disaster Pop isn't actually enough to explain what this is. And we've seen in the last few years that So, I mean, disaster bops do very, very well.
Yeah.
Hello, Led 3, hello, Carrier, just from this year. I mean, if Led 3 can have a song about Mama buying a tractor, we can have, I think actually Adam called it MYDY in his presentation. It's a red flag parade, but the red flags are actually for everything that's wrong and therefore good about this song. And as you say, Tom, it is probably going to win if all the fans' votes are counted equally. I don't know actually if there is, a Czech favorism. I don't know about that. Anyway, this was the song that impressed me the most. And I'm not saying which kind of impressions it did actually put into me, but this was the song that impressed me the most. This and AIKO are the two songs for me on the evening that has the biggest potential of doing well in Eurovision if executed right. So I agree with everything you say. This is not the best song. It's not the best execution, but it is disaster galore, and we know that everyone will love it, especially if this is the only disaster bop in that particular semi-final. So yeah, red flag parade. It's fun, it's campy, it's too much, and it's everything that Eurovision fans would want at Eurovision.
Exactly. I mean, we've got a comment on our article from Zanoni saying, MYDY is my pick. Glammy, catchy, and silly. Screams Eurovision without making me groan at all. I love that, and I think that sums it up so well. Like, it's ridiculous, but like, in the best way possible. Like, even if you get a negative feeling from it, it just turns into this, like, I don't want it to be positive, but damn it, it's positive. Like, you just can't help but be like, go on then.
This is it wins you over.
It does a little bit. And yeah, I fully think maybe we'll be seeing this in Malmö. Let's see. For what it's worth, Simon, I think the Czech vote does weigh heavier. It certainly used to. I don't know if it still does. We didn't get that much detail this year, but we will find out in due time. Next up, we have Tom Sean with Dopamine Overdose, which, first of all, I just want to say, in terms of the overall show, our host, I mean, I know people have opinions on the host this evening. At the end, he signed off the show with something just like, yeah, we can all have an overdose of dopamine. Panicked, like, yeah, everyone have dopamine. Feral. But if we talk about the song, before the show, I listened to the studio cut of this, and it was really good, like finessed. It was very well produced, very well done. This is another example, much like AIKO, where it comes to stage and it just hasn't worked. The vocals were way off, and I don't necessarily think it was the performer's fault. It wasn't quite right tonight. It was quite I did find it a bit funny. In his interview before the song, he talked over and over again about techno with Cesar Sampson. Imagine telling someone who lives in Berlin that this is techno. I don't think it was techno. I'm not sure that's the vibes it gave me. It almost gave me like pop mixed with house, like chilled house music. Like there's like a certain beat in it that reminds me of that, but like just a hint of it. But yeah, no, I'm not sure. I think there needs to be a lot of work on choreo for this if it does win. And, a lot of work has to be put into his performance value with the vocal, getting used to in-ears. I mean, he'll have better in-ears at Eurovision if he goes. There is a lot of things. There's another one that's going to be aided by the bigger production. It didn't quite hit right tonight. It wasn't as good as the studio cut. Not entirely his fault. Let's see what happens. Simon Falk, what are you saying?
I have one note on this one. Luke Black from Wish. For me, this was a case. I mean, and everyone knows I love Luke. He's great, and I love Someone Mrs. Barber. It's not to compare those two songs, but it was kind of the vibe I think that he wanted to bring out as well. This like a bit, as you say, techno without being techno, but a bit aggressive, but not aggressive enough. I don't know. it was, I don't know what you want to say to me with this song. No, the song was fine. It wasn't anything, you know, it didn't make a lasting impression on me, as I say, trying some things, but, you know, just not any impression for me that made me think of other things that, okay, what does he look like? What does his dancers do? It was like, yeah, no, didn't do anything for me. And as I say, if ELLY was underwhelming, this was like meh to me. Tom?
Yeah.
Sweet like teriyaki, the 90s are back.
I love that. I thought, yeah, what in the...
from my memory.
Oh my god. Good stuff. I enjoyed the energy. He gave a lot. What he gave. He made it his own. It looked like at times like his own kind of music video. That I think with the little that they had, he brought a lot. He needed the help from the backing singers. I thought they aided him without being too overpowering and overbear him. I still heard him, his voice. The dancers, I'm disagree with you. I think it actually kind of worked in this kind of weird 90s, again, music video vibe that maybe he was going for. Just so dated. It felt like a failed Melody Festivalen song from the late 90s, early noughties. It wasn't for me. I commend him for the work. I could tell he's actually put work into this, because there was a lot going on stage, especially with the different camera angles. That he definitely thought about that as well, and that definitely came through in the performance. Yeah, I can't see this going through unless I know the Czech fans love him and they have a massive say in the final votes. But yeah, not for me. Well done, Tom, for a good effort.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, all of these artists had to put in a lot of extra effort than perhaps they should have had to do for the show to make the performance look good. So, you know, it was hard out there for them today.
Yeah, for sure.
Thomas Robin, Out of My Mind. He closed out the show, and he is arguably the kind of second favourite of the fandom, just from social media impressions today. That is the other name that is coming up a lot alongside MYDY, where, I mean, it was a great way to close out the show. He did a really fabulous job with what he had. Again, maybe the vocals weren't perfect, but again, that's not his fault. It was better than most people tonight. The show has a very catchy hook. People will be singing it along in the pre-parties, in Euro Club, and those places. It is going to be popular. I'm not going to lie, when I think back on the songs, it's one of the least memorable ones for me, and I genuinely really enjoyed it a lot more than the others when watching it. But afterwards, I'm stood here like, I can't remember loads that went on. It was really good, but I don't think it was quite Eurovision ready. But again, 6 months work is possible. They can get it there. And I think this one has some of the most potential out of all of them. Tom, what do you think?
I liked it. I think it was a great way to close the show. I really liked his voice. The husky tones of his voice was really nice. He performs really well. He looked like a seasoned performer. I think I think they said that he won Best Newcomer. You know, he looked like a seasoned performer to me. I really liked his performance. I think let's call it Mayday, because after you call it Mayday, I like it. If Mayday was the Mayday was the Euro fans' favourite, if LENNY potentially was the Czech favourite, this could be the dark horse from towing the two. Doing a Duncan Lawrence and coming second and still going through. I don't know how they're going to do the voting, but I can see this being the second favourite of the Eurofans and the second favourite of the Czech public, and this going through. With a few more pennies to the performance, I think this could really be elevated in Malmö. I think this has got if this goes through, a good chance of breaking through their semi-final. I really liked it. Will it win Eurovision? God no, but I think this is a really great end to this show. It surprised me. This is my biggest surprise of the night. Yeah, very good, very good, very good. Well done, Thomas. Simon.
The note I have for this one is this is a jury song. If the Czech national final have had a jury, this would have been their favorite, because the others were, you know, disasters and messes in so many ways. It was clean, it was a nice song, it was nice vocally, it worked well in the staging, stuff like that. It isn't a very powerful, memorable song, as you say, Lucy, but, you know, quality-wise, this ticks off so many things that a jury would look at to see what their favorite would be. And I agree with both of you. I think this is kind of the second favorite, maybe not for Eurofans, but it would be for the Czech fans. And if Eurofans would say, okay, we have MYDY, MYDY, whatever, and this one, it could squeeze in there somehow. For me, this was the most, you know, the right package for the right song. Maybe the song isn't good enough to go through, but, you know, if we take everything and put it into a package, this was for me the best one of them. Not the best song, not the best performance, but the best overall package of the night for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking through the comments on Wiwibloggs, and there's so many people saying my favorite is AIKO, but also Thomas Robin was good. My favorite was Mayday, and Thomas Robin was good. Like, he was always the second mention.
Second favorite.
The only comment, bless him, the only comment I found where he's the only person mentioned is Isabella says, Thomas Robin wasn't all that bad, I'll give you that. I feel this kind of sums it up, where he was good and people really liked him, but he wasn't many people's first pick. Or he was like, yeah, that was okay. So I do think he was one of the better packages of the night. Sorry to use this example specifically, Simon Falk. However, to go with Riley, that song was perfectly good. It was a really good pop song. It was a nice thing. Walked out of the semi-final with very little points. It was 6 points or something. Yeah. Because where it was a great package, he was a decent performer. It was a decent song. It wasn't anybody's first choice, or very little people's first choice, right? And I think that might be his problem here. It's literally, even on social media, I'm looking through, he's always the second mentioned. So he's mentioned a lot though. So if people are being naughty and voting more than once, he could get some votes. And I mean, he will get some people's first votes, obviously, but I do just find that has been the trend tonight. So yeah, I mean, that's our analysis of all the songs today. I just very quickly want to go around. What is your biggest upgrade and biggest downgrade tonight? Your biggest surprise and disappointment, Simon?
Well, biggest surprise was, I think, MYDY, Mayday, whatever, because the song actually turned out great on live stage. The biggest disappointment, I think, was GIANNA. I mean, not taking it from a very high level, but the execution just wasn't there.
Tom?
I'd say my biggest, I'll go disappointment. I don't want to start negative, but I'm going to go with it. Disappointment was AIKO. For me, a lot of build up to her, of who she is, but I didn't feel it. I didn't feel that kind of the presence on stage. Didn't feel it in the song performance. It wasn't for me on the night. Surprise in one way, Mayday, just because I think that I wasn't really considering her to really go through, but I think she might. But I really liked Thomas's performance, and I think he could do a, if you like, a Duncan Lawrence and come second of not winning Eurovision. But in the scale of this national final, this Czechia national final, he could come second with the public, within Czech public. He could come second with the juries. He could come second with the Eurofans, and that might be enough. And I wouldn't be disappointed, because it's a good song and it's got a lot of potential.
I think my disappointment tonight is also AIKO. I was ready to get my Czech flag ready to take to Malmö. I was like, this is going to be my favourite of the year. Genuinely, every year when I hear my favourite, I hear my favourite. Like, I don't care how early in the selection that is. Like, last year with Ireland, I was like, Connolly is going to be my favourite. I'm going to be an Ireland stand this year. And then Wild Youth went, if I speak. And so, you know, I will know when I've heard my winner. AIKO was my winner until tonight. I'm like I was ready to have her as my winner of Eurovision. I don't even care that I've not heard hardly any songs. So tonight I was like, damn, kind of on a sort of performance. I've just got to decide when I vote, because I haven't voted yet. When I vote, I've got to decide, do I do it based off the studio, knowing that maybe the national final sound quality wasn't a good setup. So I need to decide how to vote, whether I still vote for AIKO because of that, or do I kind of say, well, actually, maybe a more experienced performer such as X, Y, or Z deserves my vote more. My big surprise of the evening was also MYDY, MYDY, Mayday, woo! Because we all love camp, we all love a bit of circus, we need it. Look, the only other song we've got so far is Slimane, and that is a very dramatic ballad. We need something for the gays and girls, we do, and and Tom Hendrick, and I just think Mayday is what we need. So I'm really looking forward to if they do win. I personally think they probably will win, just as an outsider's kind of just an outside thought now at the first reaction. We'll have to see in the coming week what people say, what people do. But yeah, no, it'll be really interesting. Yeah, so that was ESCZ 2024. The good, the bad, and the outright feral. We loved it. We hated it at points. Either way, it's happened. Czechia have stepped up. They've gone bigger. We don't know if they've gone better yet. We will find out next week when we get the result.
Make sure you hit that subscribe bell. Follow us on all our social channels so you don't miss one video, one chat, and one reaction.
Follow us on all social media, especially Pinterest, as Devin would say, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and wherever you will find Wiwibloggs. That's what we have to say. What do you have to say? Comment down below, and we will see you later. Bye.